Could the Pittsburgh Steelers be bringing back Cam Sutton after a year apart? I'm going to be breaking down the latest news and rumors and the timeline for the Cam Sutton saga here and whether or not he could be coming back to the Steel City. And then also, two surprising cut candidates for the Pittsburgh Steelers have arisen since the 2024 NFL Draft. I'll break down those two names here also in just a little bit. And then also, I'm going to tell you why I still believe in Calvin Austin III and why I think that his roster spot is relatively safe with the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the 2024 campaign. Also, make sure you stick around for the latest on Najee Harris's fifth-year option, whether or not Omar and the Steelers are going to pick it up or decline it. Now, I want to pass, our counterpart here at Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson is the host of the Browns Report, and I have been trailing him in Twitter followers for a very long time. When I first started at Chat Sports, I had 2 followers on Twitter. I never used my Twitter, and he had about 1,400 followers on Twitter/X, whatever you guys want to call it. Then it was Twitter. Now I am within 10 followers of passing him. All right, so Steelers on top, Steelers Nation for life. Go ahead right now. Follow me at Jack_Sperry on X and help me pass Matthew Peterson, the Browns, and FPD. Oh. Yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely, Jeremy Chugs. Okay, now let's get into the stuff today here. We're going to be talking a little bit of, absolutely. So this is what Jeremy found from Matthew Peterson in terms of what he had to say about the Steelers in 2024. Dumb Steelers fans think they have a shot now that they have Russell Wilson. Newsflash, clowns, just like Mike Tomlin, Wilson is washed. All right. So if you don't like the Browns and you want to shut Matthew Peterson up right now, help me pass him here in Twitter followers. Make sure you go to @Jack_Sperry on Twitter if you haven't already, and let's pass the Browns host today. All right. So let's get into the news and rumors now of the day, which is surrounding Cam Sutton, okay? Of course, he was the number 1 corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple years back. Ended up going to Detroit for the 2023 campaign. Didn't actually have a very good year, if I'm being completely honest with you. But Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported, actually during pretty much the middle of the NFL Draft last week, that he recently met with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is what Dulac had to say. Mike Tomlin and GM Omar met with former Steelers cornerback Cam Sutton last week in Pittsburgh, per sources. Now, this is definitely a new development here, and it's definitely looking like the Steelers may be considering this, especially because the Steelers did not draft a cornerback pretty early on in the NFL draft like I wanted them to, and right now you pretty much only have 2 bona fide starters at the cornerback position, and Joey Porter Jr. and Dante Jackson. So here's kind of the way things have gone down with Cam Sutton, because he's been in the news lately, and there's a reason why the Detroit Lions ended up cutting him from their football team. He was involved in a domestic altercation on March 7th in Florida, and he was charged with felony assault, okay? He avoided the police, and he kind of ran from police there. He was on the run for 3 weeks before he turned himself in, but then a state investigation into those charges found no evidence to support the felony charge. So he's free, okay? He's out there right now. They've kind of gone into a different kind of state here in terms of the charges. Now it's misdemeanor battery instead of felony assault, so that's a much lower charge. And he's entered into a pre-trial diversion program, which includes therapy and counseling and community service, and he's probably going to get that dropped from his record. Okay, so Jerry Dulac said that the Pittsburgh Steelers met with him 2 weeks ago, and he's still awaiting word from a potential suspension from the National Football League. And I think the Steelers are waiting on that as well. And I do think, guys, that if Cam Sutton doesn't have a suspension, or if it's a fairly short suspension, or if it's a fine, whatever the case may be, I think the Steelers are seriously considering bringing back Cam Sutton here. And I think that it is a possibility at this point in time. You look at his numbers here over the last 4 seasons. Last year, it wasn't great, 43.9 coverage grade, but in 2022, he was probably, and I don't even know if I want to use the word probably, he was the best corner in the Steelers secondary back in 2022. He has experience playing in the slot. Arguably, that's where he plays best. The Steelers need a slot corner at this point in time. So like I said, guys, my prediction when it comes to Cam Sutton here is whether or not you want to bring in a guy that, had felony assault charges and domestic assault charges, whether or not you want to bring a guy like that into this locker room. I do think that the Steelers are considering that at this point. And if there is no suspension, and there's just like a fine or whatever the case may be from the National Football League, I think the Steelers are going to bring him back on a team-friendly deal, and I think he might be the starting slot corner for the Black and Gold heading into the 2024 season. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Would you bring back Cam Sutton to be your next starting slot corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Give me a yes or give me a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no down there in the comments. So now let's talk about some potential cut candidates for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Pittsburgh Radio House David Todd says that Cole Holcomb, the inside linebacker, and Nate Herbig, the interior offensive lineman, may be on the chopping block here after the Steelers really addressed those two positions in this year's NFL draft class with Peyton Wilson, and then, of course, multiple interior offensive linemen with Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick. This is what Todd had to say. That's actually J.R. Dulac's picture, but it's David Todd. Two most likely, quote-unquote, losers on the Steelers roster post-draft are Nate Herbig and Cole Holcomb. A W addition of 3 offensive line, and most notably McCormick in round 4. Releasing Herbig post-June 1st would save $4 million in cap. Holcomb's injury was a real blow, and with signing of Patrick Queen and drafting Peyton Wilson, there may have been an injury settlement / release that could create another $4 million plus in cap space. Tough misses. There we go. Producer Jeremy got the David Todd picture up there. So listen, man, when it comes to these guys getting cut, honestly, it's not going to shock me. If Cole Holcomb's injury really is as bad as kind of Omar Khan has been alluding to this offseason, it wouldn't shock me at all if he ends up getting cut, especially after drafting Peyton Wilson in the 3rd round of this year's NFL draft, who is ready to go. Now, I don't think it's going to happen with either of these guys. I think the Steelers like depth at these positions. And listen, if they absolutely need that cap space, sure, they might consider cutting Nate Herbig or Cole Holcomb. I think they'd probably cut Herbig first because the depth on the offensive line is definitely pretty darn nice right now, and we know that if you cut Holcomb, the depth isn't all that great in the inside linebacker room anymore. So I don't think Holcomb's going to get cut, but potentially watch out for Nate Herbig, the interior lineman, to maybe get cut in the weeks to come. So now coming up here, I'm going to tell you why I still believe in Calvin Austin III and why I think he's going to carve out a real role for himself here in Arthur Smith's offense, along with special teams here in just a second. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here from Fanatics, where you can go chatsports.com/throwback and get this awesome Steelers t-shirt in your closet today for the summer, for training camp, whatever the case may be. This is an awesome design here with the old school helmet on there. It's not really all that flashy. You got the black with the black helmet on there. It's a classic logo, all these different things. So if you're somebody that's got more of a simple style, but you still want to rock your favorite NFL team here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, go to chatsports.com/throwback to get this awesome t-shirt at a great price from our friends at Fanatics. So now let's get into Calvin Austin III here. And I do think that CA3 can still be valuable for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've been seeing a bunch of things on Twitter lately saying, he's going to get cut. And, he's a huge loser from the NFL draft this year because they drafted Roman Wilson, another smaller slot-type wide receiver. But listen, man, I don't think he's going to get cut. I think he's going to be the punt return man. Cordell Patterson's going to be the kickoff return man. And then Calvin is somebody that I think is going to bring a little bit of a dynamic flair as a gadget-type wide receiver, potentially a number 4 wide receiver option. And you look at the wide receiver depth chart right now, Quez Watkins, I don't like the talent that he brings to the table. He's fast, but he can't track the ball, especially down the field. If you're going to be a deep threat, you have to be able to do that. Watkins doesn't do that. And I like Calvin Austin III's ability to move in space. I think that he's an underrated route runner. And he showed last year that he's a deep threat as well. He had a long touchdown in the preseason game. Kenny Pickett threw one of his only touchdown passes of the entire season to Calvin Austin III against the Raiders on that deep touchdown pass. So I still think he provides value as a deep threat that can take the top off of the defense. I think Russell Wilson, with that rocket launcher attached to his shoulder, can absolutely still hit him. And no, he's not the big type of wide receiver that Arthur Smith usually likes that can run block. Calvin Austin III is probably going to be more of just a rotational piece that comes in on third down and tries to kind of relieve the top receiving options on this football team. But I think that Calvin can thrive here in year 3 as one of the best punt return men in the National Football League, and somebody that can come in on those third and long situations in your 3 and 4 wide receiver sets and really be a good route runner, be a good downfield threat. I think that he's going to carve out a role for himself, and I think he's going to be a pretty valuable member to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024. And no, I don't think he will get cut. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, do you still believe in Calvin Austin III? Type B if you are a believer, or type N if you think I'm a little bit crazy here and think that he is not it. Let me know down there in the comments section. And before I go here today, I want to talk a little bit about Najee Harris, because we all know that the deadline to pick up his 5th-year option is approaching. It's very possible by the time I put out this video, actually, that they've decided on it. So if the news has already made this segment completely moot, just skip this, whatever. But at the end of the day, guys, I think that the Steelers should pick it up. It's not that expensive. It's less than $7 million for a running back here. And listen, if you decline this and he ends up having a great season and you can't let him go, he's going to be way more expensive than $6.97 million in 2025. I like the combination that the Thunder and Lightning approach here with Najee and then Jaylen Warren as kind of the lightning back at the number 2 spot. I would pick up the option if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I would want to lock in my running back duo here in Pittsburgh for at least the next 2 years, because I think Najee and I think Warren, they're good fits for what Arthur Smith wants to do. They're going to have a good offensive line in front of them that is kind of injury-proof at this point with how much depth that they have at that position. Also, you got Cordell Patterson, who I really like as a backup option for Najee in case he gets hurt, as kind of a bigger back that's got experience in this offense. So I'm excited to see what Najee's going to do here in 2024, and I think that it would be a good investment for the Steelers to pick up his option. But let me know down there in the comments section if you disagree. Should Pittsburgh pick up Najee's option here for the 5th year? Type O if you would take up that option and pick it up, or type D if you would decline the option, which would make Najee a free agent heading into 2025. Again, help me pass Matthew Peterson in Twitter followers today by going to @Jack_Sperry. Click that subscribe button. Let's pass the Browns host today, guys. I really do appreciate all of your support. And what's that, Jeremy? Yeah, DM PD, FPD as well is what he wanted to say there. Okay, now make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's going to be it for today's show. You guys are the absolute best. Make sure you click that subscribe button because we got a bunch of great Steelers content coming your way in recent days.